All right, in this video, I want to talk about something that happened that I've never seen happen before in any of my networks with UISP. I was at my RV plugging in the laptop directly into the switch that feeds all the APs at my location that feeds the RV park. Always in the past, I was able to plug in to that switch and have internet access as if I was plugged in directly to the Edge router X. There was no difference. I've tested it in the past. I plug in Edge router X. I've done a speed test, 3 of them. Then I went over to my RV, which is about a 1600 feet into the RV park. Sit in my RV, plug in, and got the same thing. Now, yesterday, I plugged into it to do some updates on some radios. I was cleaning the RV and stuff. Kind of organize it before summertime gets here. Get all the radios, the PoEs separate, get all the power cords, everything to do with power, everything with radios, CPEs and APs, MoCA, the power supplies for it. Just separate everything in boxes so when summer gets here, I can just grab what I need and go to do an install or whatever it may be. When I plugged in the laptop, like I always do, the exact same port on the non-managed switch, it came up with a browser and the URL said UISP suspended, and then it gave me an address 10.10.41043, I think it was. I said, suspended? I'm not as a client, so I shouldn't be suspended. I should have complete access to the internet by plugging it into it. I logged into my Wi-Fi that I have in my RV that is plugged into the same switch. It connected. It gave me internet. I said, okay, maybe it's something wrong with the port that's on the laptop. I said, but that makes no sense because I just left the studio here and I had it plugged in. It worked. No issues. But more I looked at the URL, and it had, it's talking about the software UISP. It was suspended as if I was a client that has not made a payment and it suspended that IP. I said, okay, fine. I just go into network settings and set a static IP that lines up with the range that the Edge Router X is handing out. And I looked at all the IPs that was used, and I said, okay, 201 is not being used. So I set my laptop at 201. Didn't make a difference. Still said suspended. Made no sense. I'm like, I don't have this laptop set into account or anything. It should just be freely wide open to give me internet. It was really kind of making me really scratch my head to figure out what's going on. And after about 15-20 minutes playing around, and I even deleted the device in my laptop and then rebooted it so it will take the drivers and put it back in and reinstall it. Maybe it had a glitch in it because Windows did an update maybe 2 or 3 days ago. Usually when I'm in my RV, I use the Wi-Fi. I haven't used the port on the laptop in quite some time. I'd say at least a month. And it made no difference. But it would log in with Wi-Fi that access point was plugged into the exact same switch. I took the landline that was plugged into the exact same unmanaged switch, I put a router on it. Just plug and let it feed a router. And then took a wire from port 1 and fed it to the laptop. It worked, which made no sense. That means that wire was giving out internet. For some reason, it did not suspend the router. Now, I did put a Ubiquiti Tough switch, the old one, and that's what I was trying to work with because I was going to install it in my RV to control all the APs I have at that location. Instead of having a separate PoE for each one, I put this one device and plug them all in, all 4 of them, and it will give power and data by one device instead of having all them things plugged into the wall with power strips. I wanted to eliminate all that. But when I took that LAN line from the unmanaged switch, plugged it into the tough switch, and then plugged the laptop into it, it did not give me no internet. Same as if I plugged it straight into the laptop. When I plugged into that landline to a router and then plugged the laptop in it, it worked. Just like the other access point I have already in the RV. The TVs worked, my laptop worked, my phone was on it, it worked. It just wouldn't give that laptop internet access when I plugged directly into the non-managed switch. So I said, okay, this IP, why is it giving me this particular IP? Is this IP in somebody's account that is suspended on this network? So I looked, 10.10.4.43, and there was an account that had that IP, and it was suspended. But I wasn't at that location. That's the RV park next to the one I was in. That made me even be more dumbfounded because it made no sense. It'd be different if I was plugged into their router or their CPE to get that suspended message. So I said, okay, if it's making my laptop as if I'm at that location, it thinks my laptop's there. Why? I have no idea because I'm not there. I'm at least 2,000 feet away from that site, that CPE and that box and that route, air cube in that box. I'm not even physically there. I'm actually, I'm not even, I'm not even plugged into the port that's on the edge router X that's feeding that AP to that other RV part. I'm on the one that's on the other RV part that I'm in. So I said, okay, if it thinks I'm there, because that's the IP it was giving me, what if and them people are gone, they haven't been there. Last invoice they paid was, I think, November or December last year. I just haven't went and gotten the equipment. There's 2 others that is suspended too because they're not there during the wintertime. Why did it choose that particular one? I don't know. But I started thinking, if UISP thinks my laptop is at that spot and it's suspending my laptop and nothing else, I plugged in a router, I got access, even wirelessly on that router. So I said, I'm going to do something just for giggles and see if I can make UISP give me access by just plugging it straight in. So I went to that account that UISP was associating my laptop with for whatever reason. Until when I'm making this video, I still have no clue why. Never seen it happen before. I went in their account and I unsuspended their account so they would have access there if they were there. It didn't even have power because they left, so the power's been turned off. And lo and behold, not even a minute later, it started working on my laptop, plugged directly into it from the non-managed or the unmanaged switch, like I always do. Something changed, or there was a glitch in UISP software or something. Because when I suspended that account, it gave me access on my laptop in my RV, not the one that's 2,000 feet away in another RV park, even though it's that park and the park I'm in tied to the exact same edge router X. I even rebooted it to be sure there's no glitch there. That didn't help. And then when I done a speed test, the maximum it would give me is like 42, 43, which is understandable because they had a 40 megabits per second package and 3 up, I do believe it was. I said, okay, it's still thinking I'm there because it gave me access when I opened up and took suspension off of that account. And it's treating this line that is not even at that location, even not just suspended, actually the speed package that location is on. It just started making me even be more dumbfounded of how and why it was doing it. I said, let's just see how tied this laptop is to that account through UISP for whatever unknown reason. So I changed the speed. I maxed it out. The maximum speed I have on the backhaul is 300, even though it gives me like 350, 360. They always give the buffer. But with all the load that's on the Edge Router X, I don't have everything offloaded. The maximum I get out of is about 205 down with all the processing that it has to do, suspension and data trafficking and stuff like that. And I got my maximum speed on my laptop. I think it was 208, and then I got like 205, then I got like 198, but I got the 200, just like I was plugged in directly like I used to in the past. But like I said, I don't plug into it directly all the time. It's very rare. It may be once a month, maybe once every 2 months. Usually I use my wireless when I program radios to download the new firmware because I have the LAN port on my laptop plugged into the radio. So I'd use wireless to get the laptop tied to the internet so I can surf and download the firmware and then upload it to the radio that I'm working on, the CPE or AP. I got the full speed. Made no sense. I said, okay, since they're not going to be there, they're long gone. What if I just deactivate their account altogether? So it will be taken out of UISP as a client. It just sits in archives, I think is the word they use for that tab where people sit when you deactivate them. Will it just give me no internet again? Or will it just give it to me because that 10.10.4.43 is no longer used? So it would just be an open channel. Well, I deactivated their account. It gave me nothing. And I said, okay, well, the radio, the CPE is still attached to that account, still attached to that 10.10.4.43. What if I tell UISP to forget that CPE altogether? To be in nowhere, just like if it don't exist, like I would have to reinstall it for it to show up with a key and put it into account. So I told it to forget the CPE, not the AirCube, just a CPE, which has that address. Well, by doing that, it opened up 10.10.4.43 completely. I went in and changed the speed on their account, even though it was in archives. That didn't make no difference anymore because 10.10.4.43 was no longer in use in UISP for that network. So it just gave me full access like it used to in the past. And when I left yesterday, it was still working. It makes no sense why it tried to it actually suspended internet access to my laptop. I wish I had another laptop that I can use at the time just to see, or have something else that I can plug into. Well, probably just a laptop because I plugged into a router and it gave access to it, which in turn gave me access to all 4 ports on it and wirelessly. And after it gave me access, when I deleted that CPE at that location, I looked and see what my IP was. It didn't change. It was still 0.43 in the network. So it just opened that IP completely. I wish I looked into which I still may do, plug in the router again and log into the router and see what IP it is getting. It may be getting the same one now, but I wish I'd checked it when it was not giving me access, but it gave access to the router that I plugged into it to get me access by plugging into the router to the laptop. That gave me access then. I wish to see if it was still giving the same IP to the router that it was giving me to my laptop that was not giving me internet access. If it gave the same 4.43 to the router and gave it access to internet, but not the laptop, it was still, it'd be even more strange and unexplanatory of why is it giving 4.43 to my laptop but no access to internet, but give it to a router, same IP, and give it internet. Makes no sense because that's what it was doing. I don't know if it was the same IP or not, but if it gave the router a different IP, why didn't it and why couldn't it just give me a different IP instead of 4.43 that was suspended in another account? My laptop has not been plugged into that account physically there in that RV park since last year sometime. Makes no sense. And I've been using my laptop since then, plugging it in and everything, setting up radios, internet access, doing some speed tests. And I got it on video where I plugged in somebody's router directly to it just to do some setups, some configuration. Makes no sense why it was putting my laptop on that account as if it had the ID, the UISP ID code key embedded in the laptop as a device that's on that account, just like you do the CPEs and the air cubes or whatever other devices you use, that where you put that registry key in there so it will show up in UISP and be able to be controlled by speed, by suspension, and all. Well, there's no place to put that in the laptop. And I looked at UISP just to see if it was actually showing up as a device for some glitch. No, that was not the case either. It just would not give me internet access on that IP. For some reason, it gave me that IP for that other lot that's in the other RV park. Even when I change the IP to one that is not being used in the network, still, same page, suspended, same IP. I'm like, that's not my IP. I've got mine as a static IP in the laptop, but it says that IP 10.10.4.43 is suspended in the URL. But that's not what my IP was because I had it static. That really blew my mind. How can he try to say I'm on that one when I'm on something else? I even rebooted the laptop just to be sure. That's when I started rebooting, deleting the device and rebooting so it will reinstall. That confirmed that it was not the laptop itself that had the issue. It was the UISP for whatever reason, which till right now I still don't know why it did it. Now, another question is, if it put me at that IP because it was suspended for whatever reason, the other two clients on the exact same network is suspended. When I took it, the CPE off that account and told UISP to forget it, why didn't it send me to another suspended account instead of just keeping me where it was at on the same 4.43 and gave me internet? Why didn't it switch me to another suspended one? Just so many mystery questions that I may never know the answer to. It makes no sense. Let me know in the comments if you ever seen anything like this in UISP. Suspending a device, rather than your laptop, which has no registration key for UISP to be embedded in it, or a CPE or AP or some other device, switch or whatever, suspending it for no reason when it should not be. I rebooted the EdgeRouter X to be sure there's no glitch there. I rebooted all the other radios from there to me. Nothing made a difference. Until only thing that made a difference, even when I archived that client, didn't make a difference. The only thing that made UISP give me internet access on 10.10.4.43 is I told the CPE that had that IP I told the UISP to forget that CPE altogether. It don't exist in the system. Can't find it because it's not there. The only way I can get back to that CPE is plug it in, let it be discovered, and then assign it to wherever. Now, that's another question. What if I go over there and turn power back on it, if they have power there, and tell it to put it back into that account, take their account out of archive and reactivate it, put that CPE, see if it will get the same IP or will it get a different IP? Because I don't set them on static IPs. I just let the system pick an IP for each one. Would it pick that one, same one, and then suspend my laptop again? Or would it just get another IP that's not being used in the network, and I'll be fine and I have access on 4.43? I don't know. It's strange. I've never had anything. I've never had my laptop suspended in any of my networks, except when I'm at a client that was suspended. Then I just use my hotspot on my phone to, get around the AP to get to the UISP software to unsuspend their account and whatnot. But not being behind a client's router or CPE, I have never been suspended before. My laptop's never been suspended. I plug it in, it works. If it's in the chain of APs, I always have access in any device. Never seen it happen. And I still don't know why it did it. I know it's all electronics. I know it's going to have a glitch, but that was the strangest one I ever seen in my life. UISP had my laptop suspended. I plugged it in different ports. I even changed the switch, which I knew at the time it probably wouldn't make no difference because it still gets back to UISP software. And like, nope, you're not getting around me that easy. But leave in the comments if you ever seen anything like this in UISP. And if you got a theory of why it did it or any possibility why it did it, leave it in the comment. I would love to know something that makes sense, because what it was doing to me on my laptop made no sense at all. Not at all. So thank you for watching. Thumbs up, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Please consider subscribe because it helps the channel. And consider sharing. And please leave a comment if you have any input of any situation like this or what it possibility caused it. And I will talk to you in the next video. It may not be as strange as this one of what happened, but I'll see you anyway.